Welcome to the September 18th, 2024 meeting of the Town of Concord Historic District Commission. The commission will review 6 new applications. We are conducting this meeting online in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. To do so, please raise your hand in the participant function of the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. Our host will mute microphones of those not speaking, and in order to preserve bandwidth, and may need to turn off video, with the exception of the commissioners, the host, and the current applicant. The chair will call on the commissioners for comments on an application and then open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I will ask for a motion from the commission to continue, to approve with the conditions, or to reject. I'll ask for a second and conduct a roll call vote. Once the commission has acted on an application, the applicant is free to leave the meeting. Now let me do a roll call for members who are here. Walter?
Here.
Are you here?
I'm
here. Bill, are you here? Bill? Luis?
Present.
Louis? You raised your hand. I'm Luis. Louis?
I'm here.
And did I miss anybody? Oh, Tim?
here.
Good. I guess that is everybody. So we know you're all here. You made the roll call. And I mentioned the voting members, but the public wasn't in. So I'll let you know that the voting members are Tim Whitney, Bill Hewitt, Louis Caldarella, Walter Clay, and I am voting. We have no continuances tonight, so we'll start out with new public hearings. And the first one is Linear Retail Concord, number 1 LLC, 4 Walden Street in the Main Street Historic District to replace existing Fat Face sign with new Blue Mercury sign. So who's here representing them?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Mark Bobrowski. My office is in Damon Mill in Concord. I represent both Blue Mercury and Linear Retail.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Let us know what you want to. Let us know what you want to do.
Okay, so this is a swap. Fat Face discontinued its operations at the location at 4 Walden Street month and a half ago. Joining me this evening are Greg Drost from Linear Retail, Michelle Barnes from Blue Mercury, and Lily Goodson also from also from Blue Mercury. So if there are questions about specific phases and aspects of the operation, I'm sure they can fill you in. But otherwise, it's just a straight forward swap of the signs as shown in the materials that we submitted, prepared by Persona Triangle. The existing Fat Face sign is shown on sheet 2 out of 8 in the materials that were submitted with the application. And the proposed Blue Mercury sign is on the right-hand side of that page. Thank you very much. We received comments from Ann Clifford, and we have, I think, no problem with any of them. Including new signage should be installed so that it can be removed without damaging the building. Corporate logos are generally discouraged. A certain font is recommended, and we're within that family. Wood signs are preferred. This sign proposed on the over the door is stainless steel. We hope that that's acceptable. All sign surfaces must be painted. I believe that this one will be. The HDC's review is in addition to, not instead of, town's existing sign bylaw. As one of the authors of the sign bylaw many years ago, when I was on the planning board, I got delegated to that committee. We're aware of that. And we also want to let you know that last night we appeared in front of the planning board, and on a vote of 5-1, the planning board granted a special permit for the formula business use here. We don't have the actual written permit yet, but that was the vote of the board, and I'm sure Elizabeth Hughes will have that prepared shortly. Happy to answer any questions or delegate the answer to my team.
Good. I open it up to the commissioners to ask questions.
I have a question. Would this be the only metal sign in town?
Good question. I have no idea.
Well, Greg might know of other buildings, other signs along that building because his company does own the building. So maybe he can.
I do not know. Well, Graham Nux's blade sign is metal. I do know that. I do not know what their fascia signage is. I do not know if it is metal or not. But I know their blade sign is some type of metal.
You're making this sign out of stainless and then painting it?
I'll defer to the Blue Mercury team or their signage vendor on how that process is.
As you said in the presentation, it was being painted.
Yeah, that's my understanding was, but I'll stand corrected if I need to be.
That is correct. Yep, it's a stainless steel painted a deep navy blue.
I hang on. I think we're getting disorganized here, if I may. There's
I
two
think you have a good
signs.
point.
Can we start with the fascia sign and wrestle that one to the ground, and then we'll talk about the blade sign? My read of the spec, as well as Mark, your comments suggest it's a stainless steel panel with painted letters, which I think is not in alignment with the guidelines of the HDC.
Yes,
And
I'm
certainly
looking
none of
at
the other
P5 of it.
stores, certainly none of the other stores in Walden Street have a metallic background showing.
Well,
I don't believe it's a metallic background that's showing. They're individual cut letters that are going to be applied to that sign band.
That's
If we
correct.
could-
That's correct.
Correct. Yep.
That's
Okay,
correct,
what's the
Greg.
material of the sign? Could you pull up the engineering drawing, please? You have an end section of the sign, if I'm interpreting it correctly. Next page, I think. Next page. Next page. There. I interpret that the thing marked A is a stainless steel panel.
I
And
believe
that's what the legend says. Am I misreading this or?
No, it's the face,
Right.
it says.
I thought that was an individual letter showing how the individual letter was going to be applied to the facade there. There's a backer panel was not approved here. I'll say that. There are individual what we call channel letters that would be applied. The way that this is being shown as being applied would probably not be how it's applied to that facade, because that sign band that you see there is the original I-beam of the building. So that is a metal, basically metal behind there, painted metal, that was original to the building. So it will, if you're looking at how Fat Faced attached it, it was with some adhesive to that sign band.
Yeah, I
Oh.
mean, what's currently there, of course, is blank, and it is inset and in the same plane as the masonry that you depict in the picture.
Correct. That does not change. That's the same color. It's been repainted to match the existing storefront to what was approved back, I think, 7 years ago on the paint color. And that sign band above those transom windows is a piece of metal that is original to the building.
Got it. So then I have one other comment now that that's clarified. Thank you. I find if the surface of that painted sign is shiny, I think that is also inconsistent with the guidelines. I assume you have some choice of whether it's matte or not in terms of its finish. And then second, I think just visually, not to get too far in the weeds of the graphic design, but the letter height relative to the height of the back panel seems high and makes it look crowded, especially if you look at the other 7 stores on that street. They tend to not occupy as much of the vertical space in that panel.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're recommending that the sign be within the existing metal band that's on the building itself.
Well, I think your design is that already. I think it uses
Correct.
too much of it, though. It probably
Correct.
uses,
Okay.
by eyeball, it's using 90% of the vertical distance there. I think it would just look less less large, I guess is another way to say it.
Bill,
It was just
I
a
can
little smaller.
Oops, I can clarify it was rendered to scale, just for clarification, each letter is 9 inches tall.
And what's the width of the band? I didn't see that on the print.
The width is 7 feet, 8.5 inches, I
I'm
believe.
sorry, the height.
Oh, I'm sorry. The height of the band, let me double check. You know, we don't have that detail in our drawing. Let me see if I can pull it though from the survey really
Can
quick.
can you go back to the our drawing as well? The one that we're referring to? That height might be on that drawing
I didn't.
while Lily's looking
I'm not
through.
seeing it, but
I don't
I
think it
can
is.
Take a
definitely
look
get
at-
some
Take a look at
clarification
sheet
there.
2 on the left-hand side of the B.
The,
of the
yeah, the
building.
letters are 9, but it does not clarify what that band is.
Okay.
If I may, that print looks
Okay.
better than the rendered photograph with respect to the relative height of the letters and height of the back panel.
I agree. I think this rendering might be a little off,
Yeah, that's
Um,
understandable.
but this is obviously more of our,
So those would be my only comments. We avoid having a flashy, shiny finish to that painted metal letters. And can we just make sure the vertical proportions are more like this picture than the photo rendering?
absolutely.
Thank you.
I have a question about the font itself. The HTC guidelines recommend serifs on the letters, and your font is
Not.
sans serif.
This is the Blue Mercury updated font for all of our projects from 2024 forward. So there's previous iterations of the Blue Mercury. This is our, latest and greatest that we wanted to bring to Concord. So this is going to be across the brand, the font that you would see on any Blue Mercury news store.
Right. The problem is that the font is against the guidelines.
That's correct.
Do you have an example of the font that you prefer?
Do I? I mean, any font that has some serifs on it would be a start.
I just can make the observation that the only problem, the main problem that we have with this font that it's too big, and it may not be big in real life. It may be big in the representation that we have here. So I think that before this application can go forward, we have to have perfectly accurate descriptions of what's the size of the sign, because again, the type of the font is a recommendation. It doesn't have to be, it's not written in stone, but it's certainly something that the HTC takes very seriously. But I don't think that we're being given a correct visual of what it looks like. And I certainly agree with everything that Bill Hewitt said in terms of the proportions. And I give the benefit of the doubt that that probably is not representative of what we are planning to do, but it's too big and we need a better picture.
I think in fairness, the past several decisions we've made on signs for commercial have allowed corporate marks that include non-serifed fonts. I think virtually all of them. So Lucy, right with respect to what the guidelines say, but the corporate mark, including for not just national franchises and brands, but one store operations had corporate marks with sans serif fonts.
Right. Any further thoughts on the sign?
I'll just say I agree with just about everything that's been said already. My initial impression of it was that it was just too large, especially when viewed next to the fat face, which is certainly more subtle. In terms of corporate logos, I would say that first off, I'd like to know what the last Blue Mercury logo looked like. This was instituted in 2024. It's possible that one of the older ones would be more appropriate for Concord.
This is actually our
Yeah.
first logo.
This
There
is
was
the-
no logo prior to this, so this is
So-
the first and only logo that Blue Mercury has had.
So we're a test bed?
Not certainly not a test bit, something that we're excited to bring out in all of our stores. So we've opened a few this year, and we're
Okay, I guess to be
Yeah.
blunt, I am probably less excited about you bringing it out in Concord than you are. But we also, in one of the minutes that we're considering here, there was documenting the Eastern Bank's proposal for signage in town, and we went with them over the course of time, and they very specifically offered us alternatives to what their overall corporate logo and color scheme was. And frankly, I think it looks a hell of a lot better in town than that would be. So I'm sympathetic about corporate branding, but I'm also my heart and soul have to belong to the historic district.
Understood. Is a logo and you're specifically calling out the blade sign, correct?
Well, I wasn't even thinking of the blade sign and all that. I find the blade sign to be more jarring than the building sign, but I was trying to spare you that.
We have any comments? We've been focusing on the facade sign. Any comments on the blade sign?
Maybe if I could, just wrapping it up, if we could see an alternative of that fascia sign with a serif font, that as Louis suggested, that might be helpful.
And on a smaller.
Yeah, that's all the other things we talked about.
Thank you. Public comments?
Well, we were,
Blade sign?
yeah, we were breaking down the conversation into two sections. That was just the fascia part.
Oh, good. No one was commenting on the blade sign, so I assumed there weren't any comments.
Oh, I think we're,
So if there are comments on the blade sign,
Bill?
I'd like to make a comment. This is Mimi Graney. I'm the Economic Vitality Manager for the town.
Are we talking about the blade sign? I mean, yeah.
I wanted, well, are we open for public comments?
Not quite yet, I think.
not quite yet.
Oh.
We need some discussion of blade sign, I gather.
All right, I'll hold.
I'll start the blade sign. I kind of like the fact that it's only a logo and not the wording. I think the logo is too big on the sign. I'd like cut it in half. It is jarring at its current size. I'm sure others might disagree with the basic concept, but I actually prefer the blade to have the logo if it can be smaller and a little less intrusive.
Can we have the blade sign up again so we can see it? I don't know if we've seen it yet. We saw the fascia sign, but I'm sure we saw the blade. Ah, there it is. Okay. Thank you.
Can we also see where it is on the elevation relative to the building sign? I couldn't quite pick that out. Where does it sit?
To the right.
Right above, okay. Thank you. Got it.
Further discussion?
I mean, to get specific, if the logo itself could be a foot by a foot instead of a foot and a half by a foot and a half, it would just be a little less jarring. And I noticed that it says satin finish, which is I have the same reaction that satin's preferred to a gloss.
Right.
Is this a metal sign? What are the materials?
If
for
you
this sign?
if you go to the next page, the materials.
Aluminum. A is aluminum, B is acrylic letters, I guess.
I'm not sure.
It looks like it's a metal substrate with a completely covered by vinyl, that vinyl image. If I read this right.
we say that they should be wood, but in this case, this is completely covered by the coating. Does it really matter?
Is it completely covered?
I think so. It seems to be. Is it completely covered by the blue background?
I would have to double check on the specifics of this one. I would think that it would be completely covered. If that's a preference, we can certainly ensure that it's done that way.
Well, so we're talking about aluminum covered with plastic rather than wood. I'm not sure that makes it a better choice.
Yeah,
Essentially, it's a plastic sign then, right?
right. Although the wooden signs are basically covered with paint, so you don't see the wood. So it really, frankly, doesn't make much difference, I don't think.
Well, painted wood is quite a bit more traditional in my book than plastic, plastic/vinyl covered metal. Just saying.
I mean, I think the issue is, and I suspect why that preference is, there's variations in the surface of wood on day one, and those grow over time and lend it some character. This is, has zero surface roughness, never will until it starts peeling off. I guess the question is there any way you could do a routed wood or composite wood simulated material instead of a decal on a hunk of aluminum?
We'll certainly look into it. Yep.
We'll say from a precedent standpoint, the Graham Nuts sign that is on the corner of the building, I believe, is of the same material as was proposed here. It is not a wood sign.
Yep.
Is it possible to confirm that, Anne, Ms. Clifford? Because I don't remember that particular item when that was approved some years ago.
I could look into that. Are you talking about a continuance so that I would have time, or would you like me to try to?
The blade sign that sits on Main Street of Graham Nuts.
Okay. It will take me some time to locate that.
Right. That can't happen tonight. Other thoughts on the blade sign? Good. Are we now open for public comment? I think we are. Public comment.
Ms. Rainey?
Hi, I wanted to comment about the question around the sans serif. On that immediate section of Walden Street, you can see Bank of America, Fat Face before it, Jay McLaughlin, Irresistibles, Sarah Campbell, and the Cheese Shop all have signs without serifs on them. So while it's nice to have, unique signs, it feels like there's extensive precedent to have signs without serifs.
Thank you. Other comments? If there are no other comments, someone want to make a motion? I cannot, so one of you has to.
Neither can I.
Well, I'll move that we continue the application for Walden Street until we have the further information that we have requested and discussed.
I think you need to continue to a date certain, Mr. Chairman. When is your next meeting?
In 3 weeks, and the next meeting?
October 9th, Dennis.
Okay, so
Nice.
continue until October 9th.
Right.
Good motion.
Well, we've taken notes, we've listened hard. We'll get you some stuff in advance of that. I'll talk with Ann about what date you're gonna need it by. And we'll plan to see you on the 9th, assuming that we can get these changes done quickly enough.
So we have a motion for a continuance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Let me see, voting members, Tim,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Louis,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, our next new public hearing is Rick Anderson, 100 Kais Road, number 306, Main Street Historic District, to replace patio door, transom, and related trim, and replace plywood with the glass in 2 picture window frames. Is Rick here?
Mr.
No,
Thayer, I
you're-
think
you're
on
muted.
mute.
Oops. Is someone here? I don't see anybody.
Mr. Thayer is trying to talk, but he's on mute.
I
It
see.
is.
Okay. I see. Thank you.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi,
Yes,
everyone.
you're representing Mr. Anderson.
Yes, my name is Scott Thayer.
Okay, can you present what Mr. Richardson wants done?
Sure.
Excuse me, Mr. Anderson wants done.
Yes, we are proposing to remove the existing gliding door and related transom windows above the door and replace it with a Anderson Frenchwood gliding door with transoms above. And the windows remove the texture 111 panels that now take up the space of the picture window and replace those with glass. There were 2 of those. And both of these projects are consistent with many replacements we've done in the past.
Thank you. So it's pretty much what we approved all along as each unit holder comes to us. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Questions about what's being proposed? I would say this is pretty straightforward. We've already approved a half dozen of these, and I will say it's a great improvement on the building. So I don't know if there are any questions about this. If there, whoops.
I was gonna say, we should encourage it and,
Right. I think our last time they came before us, Walter, we asked them if they could do the rest of the building, remember?
yeah, yes, exactly.
I might mention to the chair that in the past we discussed this as a matter that was being so routine that we should have an administrative procedure, so there's no need to have a full-blown hearing or application on these replacements. But you know, that was one of the comments that was made.
All right. Yeah, we were kind of working on the streamlining, Luis, and we haven't quite gotten there yet. But if there are no comments from the commissioners, have any public comments? Seeing none, does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll move that we approve this application for 100 Kais Road, number 306.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. Then let me see. Louis,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. Let me see. Our next hearing is Mark Christopher, 46 Wood Street, Main Street Historic District, to replace gutters, roof, and mudroom stairs, install HVAC system, and add sconce lighting and 2 light posts.
Good evening. This
Remind
is
everybody, we've done
sorry.
quite a bit of work, and I think we've seen that here on Wood Street on this property. And I think Ann pointed that out.
that's I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut off Ann, but this is Bob Drew from Battle Associates. I'm the architect working on the property. You are correct. You've seen this property a couple times over the course of the past year and a half. Previously was the garage, which is now kindly being built, which is great. About a year ago, we came in front of you with some main house changes that has lapsed. And now we're coming back to with some changes that are modified because of simplicity and cost. So I'll quickly walk you through I know you kind of probably know the house already, but we'll start with a quick photo. We're replacing the gutters. They're currently what exists is wood, and we're gonna go with a fiberglass gutter from the fiberglass gutter company G90. That's the closest match within fractions of a centimeter or millimeter. Kind of match what's there now and paint it white and to kind of match the existing. The idea was to kind of slightly dress it up a little bit with the downspouts, paint them copper. The previous application, we wanted everything copper, but obviously, if you have do the whole house in copper, it's going to be a little more pricier. So we kind of just did be a little clever and make the downspouts copper. The next piece on the list is sconce lights to the left and right of the front door. What we're going to propose is a company from a light fixture from Patty Brothers, which we've the local company. We actually used it on another project on Monument Street, which you guys saw a year or two ago. Great company, makes good fixture. We figured keep it the same. And those are the two light fixtures that are to the left and right of the front door. What's there now is needs to be replaced. The next piece of this project.
I'm sorry, before you skip by that.
Oh, sorry.
Is it inside the porch or is it on the outside pillars of the porch?
It's kind of.
Got it. Thank you. I got it.
No worries. Sorry, I should have pointed a little better. Next piece is we're for the HVAC. We have a couple of spots because it's being kind of retrofitted with split systems, kind of get some AC into the house. So we have a couple, another like three very small pens, one on the left side and two on the right side, and we're kind of screening it. This is to be painted white to kind of because some of the houses painted white, they kind of fade away and go away. Some people do it with shrubbery. The client prefer to do it with wood, kind of create a little bit of a pen. Next on the list is the stairs. So we previously came to talk to you about some wrought iron work on the front here. The client decided, no, I'd rather do wood. So he saw this old newel post in a photo. I'll give you 1 second, guys. I apologize. Yep, at the end. Kind of the design inspiration. Kind of a newel at the tops and bottoms of each stair. For the front, the side, and the side. So all three of those entrances are going to be in harmony. The next piece of item on the list is the client would like to add a couple light posts. Light posts in Swenson Granite, again, another local company. The light fixture itself is another fixture from Patty Brothers. And it's going to look something similar to this Woodbury gray and the light fixture at the top, colonial post, like a colonial light post. Because it's a circular driveway, so you have to have one at each end. And the last on the list, which is pretty simple, is just to replace the roof. That's the wood roof, which has seen a better day. It's time to replace it. And we were originally going to do wood shingles, but we're going to go with CertainTeed, which is the color is. I'll give you 1 second. Sorry, guys. Colonial slate. So this is not a full facelift. Maybe it's a little bit of a tummy tuck, but it's a little bit of some updates on the main house here. So as always, we can close in our narrative. These items gave you a little bit of a finished summary, so you saw where all the products are going in, and obviously that are typically, as always, we always do our drawings. Happy to answer questions as you guys have it.
Were the gutters to be painted a copper color or to be copper gutters, the downspout gutters?
The downspouts would be copper only. The gutters would be painted white to kind of match what's there.
So it would be real copper.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be like a metal. It's like a standard metal downspout, and it's gonna be painted with copper. I think I closed the product info.
So not copper.
Correct. Not full copper. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
I'm going to say lipstick, copper paint on it.
You have that color somewhere, right?
Yes, that's correct. It is that right there. Modern Masters.
That color does not change.
Right.
You're saying if it doesn't patina?
Exactly.
But it doesn't weather like copper.
That's correct.
It won't,
It's not-
it
it's not
won't
gonna-
turn, it won't turn to dark brown.
That's correct. Or green, sometimes, depending on where it is, sometimes patina is like a greenish. The intent is not to do that, that happen.
I'm not clear on why you want to paint those copper.
I wanted to keep them the same color as the house. Just the client wanted to just do a little bit of more of a dress up to it. We'll make it a little more slightly fancier. It's not a deal breaker, but if it's something that you want to keep to the existing, which is currently painted to match the main house, we're all for it. We can work with that.
I think traditionally, even if it were copper, it's often painted to blend in with the house. I don't think you often see copper downspouts unless the gutters are copper also, but maybe I'm wrong in that.
We originally, when we first came to you, we wanted everything copper, and then the estimate came back, and the client went, freaked out because of the amount of copper. So he's getting a little bit of copper in the house. Again, it's not a huge deal breaker, but if you feel more comfortable painting this the main body of the house, which we've done on several occasions, you've seen us before, we can go with that. We can move forward with that change.
That would be my preference, but I don't know if the other commission members agree.
I agree.
Great.
Happy to make that change. That's totally fine.
I want to bring up the light posts. You might have read in our guidelines that we're not very enamored of light posts, and that recently, I don't know the last time we approved a light post, we've been going to bollards.
Okay.
If you want to light the driveway, because they're much more sky compliant, dark sky compliant, and shed much less light.
Gotcha. Didn't think this fixture shed much. Didn't go eight. I'm sorry. What's the fixture? Didn't shine up as much. It's not like doesn't have a lot of upwards light.
Do you have exact details on that?
I can get that. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I'm happy to give some more info. When we say details, you like how much uplight it gives it?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think Dennis's first point was that post lights in principle are not consistent with the guidelines. Forget what fixtures on them.
But especially
right.
Yeah, that a bollard and a granite bollard that emulates a fence post, a split granite fence post, would, for example, be more historically consistent.
Okay.
Well, it also it may be interpreted as contemporary, but it's very low key. A granite post is very unusual. I don't know post lights with granite posts other than in a modern setting.
We've done it before, but not in Concord, but we've done it before. But I understand your feedback. If that's something we have to come back to you with a different change in this post, that's fine too. We've done it. Obviously we've come back to you before on previous work.
Yeah, and I think when we say bollard, it's 3 feet high, give or take.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Enough so you don't run over it with a snowplow.
Also, the post lights, they may not be lighting up, but they light out, and the fact of a granite post, which it's a relatively new thing, the last 20 years, 30 years, and glaring lights that shine horizontally off those granite posts are really what we're trying to stay away from.
Right.
Okay, understood. Happy to come back to you with an alternate.
Hey, Dennis, can I backtrack 1 second? I just on the gutters, on vinyl gutters, are we saying that's okay?
It's fiberglass.
Vinyl gutters are okay.
I mean, excuse me, fiberglass gutters.
We've
Do they have
approved
seams? Are
them
they
in the past.
continuous? Like, how do you join them? I've never inspected fiberglass gutters, so. But what I'm worried about is like you can have a fat joint where these things butt together. I just don't know how they're detailed, so.
I don't have that information at my fingertips to show you. I know we've come in front of you for fiberglass gutters previously, in which you guys kindly approved on other projects. So, and it's same company as well.
Okay, so, all right.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was the house on Monument Street we did when we added that porch back. Those are fiberglass, if I remember correctly.
And I'll build, I will beat Walter to the comment to make sure you get extra large gutters.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Because of the downpours we're going to have and global warming, and you'll be happy with larger gutters.
The most important thing with gutters that I've learned is keep them clean from the work.
You can't always do that, and dry wells are your friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Other comments?
Well, the other thing is the client you have has expressed a preference for wood HVAC pens. I think your comment was that some do it with shrubbery.
Yep.
Do we have a preference for whether it becomes a wooden pen or whether it is obscured with shrubbery? I tend to lean towards the shrubbery because the pen is not an HVAC, not a piece of HVAC equipment, but it's another structure that certainly screams HVAC equipment.
The only thing I would like to mention on our end is it's tough to put landscape over here because of the tightness to the garage. It's all kind of like gravel driveway as you come down.
Right up to the house.
I think we see a lot of these ending up on the sides of houses. Did you look at putting it on the back?
Yeah, because it's all open to the back. So it's kind of like an open porch. Can you give me 1 second? Let me get a good photo of the back for you guys. So you understand.
Is that bounded on the back by the river?
That's correct.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a public way.
Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. I gotta get a good photo.
If it's on the river, it's
kind of like it's like an open patio that overlooks the back. Hold on. I've taken 5 million photos of this house. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys, I'll hold you up.
While you're waiting, Walter, in some ways, wood plus shrubs is best because the shrubs do virtually no noise abatement, whereas wood does. Obviously, the shrubs are more pleasing to look at if they live.
There's no good place in the back. If you see these photos here, there's no good place in the back. See these old beautiful stone pillars. See that it's all pretty much open. There's no real place to put these guys, and so you're limited to the sides. And also, we had to put one on the garage side because of getting that side of the house access to for the ductwork without with minimal inside routing and going outside and inside and running the ducts and stuff. So we had to put one unit on one side on the driveway side, two on the other.
And the ducts are running on the inside?
Yeah. That's correct.
It's piping, right?
Yeah, it's piping. Excuse me. I should say piping. But
heat pump pumps are a fact of life these days. We're going to see them all the time. So
we use it the past couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years. It's very popular now. But we looked at possibly putting it in the back of this house somewhere, and we didn't want to put it there. It didn't. There's no good spot to put it, unfortunately.
So any preference to settle that issue of the wood versus the shrubbery? Suggest that they put some shrubbery if they can, but stay with the wood. I don't know what you think.
Are the ones on the right side more visible from the street? The one on the left side behind that stair looks like it's be a lot less visible.
So if you see this photo here, that unit's gonna be behind this little bump out. Right. If you see this photo here in front of this car, it's gonna be like kind of right there.
I mean, do we split it, and the ones that are on that right hand side, the bottom picture, could you do wood and shrubs?
Happy to add additional shrubs if
at least the two sides that face the public way, the side.
consider it strong encouragement to do as much with shrubbery as is
Will do.
acceptable to everyone.
Great.
I just have one the current roof is wood,
From what I can tell, it's wood.
and you want to change it to something that's not wood.
That's correct. It's more economical, not cheap, but economical with asphalt shingles. Longer. I'm gonna say longer lasting. We love doing wood shingles ourselves in our other projects.
Yeah. That's a big difference.
Color was kind of similar.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like, now the materials change, but the color is going to be similar. So it wasn't like a total departure.
I don't know if anyone else has an issue with that.
I think I'd prefer wood, but I understand the practicality of the asphalt shingles on it. And the other houses around it have asphalt on them at this point. They probably were wood at one point. I prefer the wood, but I'm not going to get hung up on it. I guess that's the way I'd put it. Other comments about the application? I think the wood, actually, I like the wood staircase railings and surrounds. I think that's an improvement. I think that adds some handsome touches to the house.
Yeah, and the client passed along these very old photos. Nothing was there before, which was all I'd opened. But it's nice to add these wood handrails. How old? I think this is from I can't remember the date, but
1900.
Yeah, 1900. Yeah, exactly.
I guess.
So, so where do we stand on this and a motion with this? I'll open up to public comments in a second. But are there particular things that we want them to come back with a bollard design? Is that it? What else do we need?
I think there were three things. There was the gutters that are not copper painted, but painted white or match the house. The second was the bollards, and the third was encouragement or shrubbery and wooden screening of the heat pumps.
It was painting the downspouts, right?
Right.
From our end, painting the downspouts and the strong encouragement of shrubbery, we were happy to do that, and then come back to you with a different light post bollard design. If that I can make that, I can executive order that from our end.
Let me come back to this, but let me ask: are there public comments on this?
Yes.
Yes, hello.
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 Hi, Sig Roos here, 36 Wood Street. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Good. First off, I don't believe we had notice of the bollards or the construction around the pumps. I thought what we were looking at were downspouts, lanterns on the front porch, and shingles. But if we did get notice, I didn't see it. I'm happy to see that you want them to come back on the bollards and the lanterns. When we did our work at 36, I know that Historic Districts was very strict with us about our lighting, and that we were permitted to put only one 40-watt bulb on our front porch and one 40-watt bulb on our side porch. We were also not allowed to put any copper caps on any of the decks that we had built. They were all had to be painted white. But I am a little concerned about the amount of light will be on that front porch. In addition, there are security cameras built into this house. I don't know whether those are going to stay, but those are certainly not historic, and they can be seen from the street. But that's a side issue. And it's interesting that they want to put colonial lanterns on a Dutch house, but I don't know what that's about. as far as the pumps are concerned, the two on the right, on the south side of the house, are right up against our property. There is room. There was shrubbery there that was taken out. There was a little cherry tree on the street side of those. That's gone. We're a little bit concerned about what that's going to look like. Right now, it doesn't look very good. And I don't know that screening is going to make it any better. It just, I'm not sure why they didn't put it in the back of the house. I know that the back of the house pretty well, and there's a pretty big space between the back of the house and those 3 stone pillars. It's all exterior, and
It's
right
all
there.
open. It's all open here, and it was tough to put these units along this back line here and get access to the house.
You couldn't put it behind the pillars?
Yeah, they don't really like HVAC people. Don't. I don't think you can put it underneath inside a porch.
There's also the water, the river also provides a public view shed, and so I don't think we'd want them in the public view shed.
Well, they're pretty visible from the street right now, as are the security cameras.
Security cameras, I think are coming down because there's no one in the house right now. So I think those are going to be taken down at some point. We understand that's not, but I think it's just more just safety. And then like as we were talking earlier, I mean, we have these pens. We're kind of trying to make it somewhat some surround to it, but we can also add shrubbery. That's not a problem.
Can I ask? The public comment triggered a question. Maybe should have asked earlier. Is it possible? Is it allowed to put them partially below grade? The pumps?
No, I've never done it. I've done it. Usually you have to put it on a pad, usually a concrete pad or at the very least gravel. And then you can sometimes you can hang them on the back of houses, but there's no good spot to put it on the back of this house.
You're not allowed to put it in a well that has a full clearance.
I've always been told never to do that. I've tried. But that is a good question. I'm going by what the HVAC people tell us. They said to rather not do that.
Well, it's a drainage issue.
That too. Yep. And also, servicing issue too.
Yeah, but just so I know, will we have another shot at the lanterns, or is this it?
Well, I think, Tim, didn't you ask you wanted more specs on the lights? Did I hear that incorrectly?
Sorry, Dennis, more what on the light?
Oh, sorry, I meant Walter. I think Walter asked the specs.
I was asking, yes.
Oh, more than that, we asked to come back with low concrete, low granite bollards with subtle light fixtures, not lanterns.
Well, there's two different, there's porch lights as well.
I think he's asking about the porch lights.
We did not ask those questions about the porch lights.
The porch lights they have 2 60-watt Candelabra base bulbs. Obviously those could be dulled down. We've done it. I think we've had a project in front of you before where you said no more than a 40-watt, which would that could be a condition. We can have those and that's not a problem at all in terms of the spec of the bulb. I think they do make 40-watt Candelabra bulbs. I think I have one in my kitchen, but in terms of this on the product info, there's 2 60 watts. It's switching to 40. It's not a big deal. We were happy to make that.
Sometimes they make the one candelabra version of I don't know if this particular brand does, but many do. And having one that's 40 watts, if you're going to go with 2 fixtures, having 4 candelabras on a front porch seems a little bit overkill.
I agree. One, if they can make it with one, would be better.
They do have the fixture with one. They do. Patty Brothers does make that. I don't have that at my fingertips, but I can, with the bollard, come back to you with that proposal. It's similar in spirit and design intent of these lanterns, but if there's one 140 on each side, we're amenable to that change. I just have to go back and Patty Brothers is out of Sudbury makes several different fixtures, and I've seen it.
That's still double what we were allowed. No. Yeah.
And if the board feels strongly about having one, then we have one. That's fine. We just need the feedback, you know, that's the preference of you guys. Granite bollards, totally understandable. Painting the downspouts instead of copper painting the downspouts, not a problem at all. We can make that change easy. But if you're strong in, you know, adding shrubbery around the HVAC, we can make that change, not a problem. But the lantern, if you want me to come back, want us to come back to you with a different light fixture, and if it's one, if that's your preference, I'd like to know now so I can come back to you with a.
I assume these are not dark sky fixtures, correct?
I would assume they're not. It's under overhang. It's kind of in the porch.
Right.
These guys are Patty Brothers is kind of like not a high. They make very good fixtures, but they're not kind of like a big manufacturer. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think, but they're underneath the canopy here, so there's not, I mean, that has something to do with the light. There's a question about the style of the fixture. This house is colonial revival, so I don't have a problem with the style of the fixture. I think it may not have been what they would use. It may have had something more Victorian in look, but it's not inappropriate.
Sorry, I can't see what was there before.
Any thoughts about one or two and of these fixtures?
Or perhaps if we're looking to. Sorry.
You're talking about just one, are we talking about one fixture versus two fixtures, not bulbs for bulb count, right?
Right.
Perhaps it should be a not to exceed a total of 40.
For the two?
Or the one, if you want to do that.
Yeah, two fixtures with a 25 watt in both. That would be an example of what you're talking about.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah.
That could be that's fine on our end, you know.
Okay.
Totally understand what you guys are coming. I totally understand. I'm trying to keep to local companies and kind of keep it to, you know, like these lanterns are quite nice.
Sure. I'm sure they can do it.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for anything space age. Sorry.
Other public comments?
Can I ask one other question?
Sure.
Sure. In one of the pictures, there were outdoor speakers in this office.
I think this is when I first started the project, and which was pre-COVID. I think those are gone. These two guys here. That's in the back. Those are in the back of the house. I can look and see if they've been taken down. I think they're gone.
I'm just thinking. So there was a question about security cameras, and that's perhaps more egregious.
Yeah, but I think this has been there. This is when I first measured up the project. I think four plus years ago, and those might not be there anymore. I could check. If not, we can take them down. It's not a big deal.
To quote the B-52s, I'm just asking.
Everyone's wireless now, so
yeah. Okay. Other thoughts? Do I have a motion?
No, I have thoughts. Hello, can you hear me? Really?
Yes.
Oh, I already asked for other public comments. You didn't pipe up.
My hand is up. My hand is up.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Sure.
I'm Brian Gorley, 62 Wood Street, the abutter to the north. And I'm concerned about those 6-inch by 6-inch granite posts that are listed as 7 feet long. I'm not sure how much sticks out of the earth, with a 23-inch lamp on top. There are no lighting like that on Wood Street, and I think it would be very inappropriate. In addition, the one granite post is shown as right adjacent to a very large maple tree right next to it. And I think installing that would do some serious damage to that tree. The tree is right on the property line. So it could be on his property, but I think it could kill that tree. And I agree with you that it's the lighting on the street, right on the street.
Anything else?
Pardon? the lighting in the street would be inappropriate, and I'm not sure what the residents of the historic house across the street would think about that. I should point out too that the gutters have already been done. The roof has already been done. The HVAC has been installed, and it's not inobtrusive. It's 4 feet by 5 feet approximately. And just by putting some wood around it is not going to make it any smaller. It may help with sound perhaps, but certainly on our side, on the driveway side, there's no planting that could be done. That would be right in the middle of the driveway, which I should point out, we were sort of bamboozled by the owner when he proposed this 2-car linear garage that's going to be 40 feet long and 5.5 feet above the grade at the back. We considered it absurd and didn't object. We had been out of the country and couldn't really object at the time. That work is underway. It's been demolished, and there's a very large pile of earth in the back, and a swimming pool where not a swimming pool, but it's certainly a large pool of water where the garage would be. That's certainly something that the horse is out of the barn on that case, but that's
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
one other point, or one other thing I'd like to bring up is that the owner of the house showed me some pictures of fences that he wants to put up, a large fence going from the end of that 40-foot garage to the property line. I don't see any of that in any of these applications. I certainly hope that doesn't come to pass. These houses on Wood Street are a rather large open expanse. I mean, you can walk from one end of Wood Street to the other without encountering a fence. And it would be absurd just to be a one-sided fence between my house and his house.
Am I allowed to follow up, Dennis? Or
sure, go ahead.
Sure.
Sorry,
I will say though that we've already told the architect that we are not going to approve the lamp posts, so those are not those are no longer part of the project.
Yep, that's something we're going to come back to the board in front of. And two other things is the garage is not part of this tonight's application. That was approved about 15 months ago, and it also had to go through ZBA and NRC. So you had a couple, you had 3 chances to kind of say to kind of voice your concerns. I understand your concerns.
We were told that it was strictly an attempt to make the house more saleable. He intends to sell the house. He owns another house around the corner. And a 2-car garage would apparently, in his mind, make the house more saleable. A 2-car linear garage, one in front of the other, we thought was totally absurd and didn't, we were told this was just an application.
You had 3 chances, and kind of we had historic, it had ZBA, and just recently we had to go through the NRC to it. So again, this is not part of tonight's application, but that's something you might have to take up with the owner. I'm sorry, it's an issue with you, but it's something that's not part of what we're talking about here tonight. Bollard will come back to the board. We'll make sure that's done right. That's not a problem. And then and again, the garage is nothing to. And you also mentioned something about a fence. I know there was talk about a fence. If there was a fence, it would be part of this application or part of if we were involved, which more than likely we would be, because we work closely with the client. We would be back in front of the board with a fence design if he did decide to move forward with that. We wouldn't be involved on a project if he doing a fence without us involved. If that makes sense?
Well, we were assured by the contractor the fence was just an idea, although we sent photographs of the type of fence he intended. I realize it's not part of this application, but it was the same kind of tactic. I think it was used to build the garage or get permission to build the garage. We were told that it was just a selling point that the new owner could do it or not. So
That's something unfortunately you might have to take up with the owner.
The
But again,
clarification, Mr. Gorley said that some of this work has already been done. The roof has already been done. The gutters have already been done.
that I don't know, did not know that. I did not know that. I haven't been on the site quite a while because it was a long delay because of the garage. Had to go in for the NRC. I can circle back with the contractor if needed.
Yeah, we'd like to hear about that because this
Me
is not
too.
an honest discussion if it's already been done.
Yeah, I haven't been there, and I did not know that. I apologize.
I can assure you the gutters have been done.
How about the roof?
Or as if they've already been done.
I can follow up with the contractor. It's not a problem.
Right.
I don't have an objection to the roof. I mean, it's actually a new wooden roof in the last few years. But
Then I know we've previously been approved for a wood roof. And maybe if that was done within the time frame of the previous approval, then that's
no, the previous owners had done it.
the previous owners have
Yeah.
done it. Okay, excuse me. Because the first time we came in front of you guys, we asked you wanted to do a wood roof.
We'd like to
Have the mini splits been installed as well?
Yes.
Interesting.
I knew about the mini splits, but they're not. For far as I know, they're not been active. I said, hey, we got to get approval for this. If we have to make sure we cover it. I'm sorry, make sure it's hidden.
Well, there's no way to hide the one on the driveway side.
Yeah, and the ones on the south side, the concrete pads are built and the piping is in and all of that is visible from the street and the units are in.
Okay.
I can find out about the roof and the gutters. That again, I did not. It's done without my knowledge of that.
Thank you. We'd like to know that obviously. Any other questions from the commission members?
In general, would it be appropriate to have a site visit and see what's actually going on?
I was contemplating that, Walter, whether that would be a good idea.
It seems
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
This is, we've got a lot of after the fact stuff.
Right. We think there is. And so I think we need a site visit here.
I should also point out that on the application, it says no change to the grade in the backyard. Well, there's a mountain of earth in the backyard right now, and I'm not sure what they're doing about that 5.5 foot drop between the bottom of the garage and the property, the land.
Again, that's all been drawn through and was in front of the board about 15 months ago.
Yeah, we approved all that. So
Yeah.
in our records, if you get a hold of Anne, and she can show you what we approved, if you'd like to clarification.
Yeah, and nothing varied from that, of what's being built right now. Nothing's that, again, I know that's been varied from that. It's going to be built as drawn as you guys approved it.
Right. Thank you. Okay, so we need we're going to do, we need a motion. Anybody want to make a motion?
We're talking about a continuance, right?
That's what I'm assuming.
I move that we have a continuance of 46 Wood Street, including a site visit in 3 weeks, the morning of the next meeting. Including examining the change of the downspouts, the proposed lighting, and the enclosures for the HVAC units.
We'll have a second.
Second.
Okay, so Tim.
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
Louis.
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Question on what the next steps are. So our research on our end is the granite bollards for the lighting. Obviously, we're gonna come back to you with that. The light fixtures, is that something we just have to, well, I'll look into the single light fixture and with the 40, and if it's up to you, we're amenable to you having either 1 or 2. And then the regards to the downspouts being painted the body of the color, that's pretty straightforward. I'm gonna ask the contractor tomorrow what he's done on site, because I have not been on site. But that's something we'll go over at the next site visit.
And I think we said shrubbery in addition to the one.
Yeah, right. So something we'll come back to you, like what's the plan is around those HVAC pens on the right side. I just want to make sure I do my homework for these other pieces in anticipation of the next meeting.
I think that sums it up, but we'll see what comes up at the site visit.
Yep, understood. Thanks for the clarification.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Okay, next hearing is Carolyn Von Braun, 93 Monument Street, Northbridge Monument Square Historic District, to replace and repair roof and reflash chimney.
Yes, hi. My name's Kurt Von Braun. I'm Carrie's husband. Carrie is also on the call, and we're the new owners of 93 Monument Street, and just want to go through some repairs and maintenance really that we're doing right now, and then in the future we'll be coming back to you for some more significant modifications. Let me go ahead and share with you. Hopefully you can see, I'll see that. Okay, so this is what the house looks like today. And just a quick summary of everything we intend to propose to you tonight, and then I have a bunch of pictures that'll help clarify it all. So the first thing is the roof, as you saw in the previous picture, there has asphalt shingles, and so we want to bring back the historic nature of the house even more than it already is. And what we would like to do is to remove and replace those asphalt shingles with red cedar wood shingles. We will do that on both the house and the detached barn. Again, I'll show you pictures of what's visible from the street versus what isn't. There is also a rubber roof on a very low pitch flat portion that is not visible from anywhere on, pretty much anywhere on the property. But we also need to replace that rubber roof because it's well over 20 years old. The other issue is the chimney. It's in desperate need of grinding, repointing, and recrowning just due to cracks in the brickwork. I'll show you some pictures there. Concerned obviously about leaks coming through, so it's in need of that. The way we intend to do it is to reuse, of course, if there's any rebuilding that needs to be done of the chimney structure above the roof line, we would use the existing materials, obviously keep the flue pots that I'll show you in a second, to preserve the historic nature of the building. If any of the bricks disintegrate in the process of repointing and fixing these cracks, the intent was that we would continue to use all the bricks, but make sure that if we had to use a new brick, we'd put it on the back of the building where you can't see it from pretty much anywhere on the property because of the way that the land flows. All right. We also would like to put copper flashing around the chimney. Right now there's lead flashing, but coming to you in the future, there is some copper on the house around some dormer windows. We don't intend to do anything with that right now, but we kind of want to start a process where we convert all the flashing on the house to copper, and then also the gutters and downspouts in the next round would be also converted to all copper. So really the goal here is, this is the beginning, our first meeting with you is to begin some repair work, and then also ideally, with the roof and the chimney at least, and probably some front yard landscaping that we'd come back for, is to get ready for next April. We're right on Battle Road, obviously, so everybody will be walking by, and we'd like to kind of spruce up the house as much as we can and make it as historic as we can. So that's the narrative. The pictures, I think, are worth 1,000 words here. You see the asphalt shingles. This, of course, is Monument Street view. So you'll see the whole face there would be changed to cedar shingle. I'll get into the chimney in a little bit with some close-ups. This on the right is the south face, and there is a partial street view. So you do see some of the shingles from Monument Street there. From this side, this is the north side. So as you're coming from the North Bridge towards the house, this is the face you see partial view of. There's a lot of trees blocking it, but the roof is certainly visible there, and that would all be cedar shingles that you can see. And then the back of the house over here on the right, all from the backyard. You can't see any of this from the street, but that would also be cedar shingles. And as I mentioned, the dormers, which we won't touch right now, but in the future, there is copper flashing on there that we want to start matching with the rest of the house so that everything is copper. And then the detached barn, this roof here, pretty tough to see from the street, really, but that would also be cedar shingles. Over here on the left, the west, this is the north face. You can see just a fraction of that roof. That would all be cedar shingles. And there is actually a small hole in the barn roof that we noticed. So hopefully before winter, we'd get this all done. So on the chimney, you can see here, there's clearly some pointing needed. Obviously want to preserve all aspects of the chimney, particularly the flue pots at the top. Here's the lead flashing that we'd like to replace with copper flashing. And then the repointing there, and then down here you can see partial street view. You would see a lot of pointing here as needed. So the intent, there's some cracks over here on the back face. Again, I've been up there with the chimney guy, and he's going to do his best to just keep it a repair and not, any major rebuilding, but there may be some. And then you can see the rubber roof here. This is not visible from the street. It's on the back section of the house that was an addition put on in the late 1800s, mid to late 1800s. But that's over a 20-year roof that we need to replace. Not visible from the street, so. The products we'll use is this Certigrade red cedar shingles. We'll be using their premium grade, which is this #1 grade blue label at the top. The specs are all in the application. This is, of course, what they look like, stacked in a lumber yard, but they're these nice, thick shake shingles. And then the backups I have are just the application and the site. Here you can see the house and the detached barn. All right. So that's all the material I have. If there are any questions.
I have first, thank you for a fantastic application package. It's a delightful early Gothic revival piece, and your pictures make it come alive. My question's around the chimney, and there's two of them. The first is, having restored a similar vintage house, I think lead flashing was actually used quite widely. And I don't know, our guidelines don't specify copper versus lead, but I'm maybe for my architectural colleagues on the commission, the lead versus copper. The second is more curiosity, whether you have any old photographs that suggest the original chimney was higher. It looks a little bit like it might have been shortened in previous repairs. More curious, honestly, than related to your application.
Actually, I mean, this might be tough. I don't know if I can get this into focus. No, probably not. It's about an 1840s daguerreotype that it does show what might be taller flue pots. I wouldn't know where to get them. I'd have to go hunting around, but
yeah, I wasn't suggesting. I just was curious, given the house's location, that whether you did have some old photographs and whether you considered restoring the original proportions, but
Yeah.
certainly retaining what's there would seem appropriate to me. But the
Yeah.
the lead versus copper, I'd be interested in experts' view on that.
Yeah, I mean, happy to keep it lead if that's your preference and that's more historical. There's certainly plenty of lead up and down the street on the flashing. I've noticed pretty much every chimney on the street, and they do have a lot of lead.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I agree with Bill. I was thinking the lead was more traditional than the copper in that situation.
Maybe
I don't know if you can get, I mean, lead is toxic.
You're right.
I'm not sure you're allowed, I honestly don't know if you're allowed to just use pure lead. You can use lead coated copper. That's still a product out there. And it looks like lead. It won't turn brown. It'll turn gray like this turns it. It'd be a question for Mason. I honestly don't know I don't know the acceptance of lead as a toxic material these days, because it does leach out over time.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with lead for repairs and flashing like this, frankly, in my experience. But and my one note was about lead versus copper. But what lead allows you to do is basically tamp it into place and pick up the profiles of whatever you're trying to flash in a way that copper really doesn't, unless it's extremely malleable. I don't know of a copper that would lend itself well to this. You use copper for downspouts and cutters because it holds its shape. You use lead for flashing this way because it follows the contours and it doesn't.
Well, it's certainly possible that when we get up there with a chimney guy and he starts working on it, that we may not even have to touch the lead and we could just leave it as is.
That would be preferable for sure.
And just do the pointing. Hopefully, structurally, it all holds together when the grinding is done, and to be able to get the pointing, the mortar to take.
The other concern about copper versus lead is that if you're trying to make the house as spectacularly presentable as it seems for next April, the copper is still going to be glowing brightly on the top of your house. The lead wouldn't be. And I did a complete standing seam copper roof one time on a 3-story Georgian. And it took about 2 years before it was not the shining beacon on the top of the hill in reports.
Maybe I could get up there and pour some kind of acid rain all over it and accelerate the process.
I don't wish you that experience, but yeah, you probably could.
Thank you very much.
Okay, other questions about this project?
Just one quick observation, which is that it seems that all the work in the chimney, it's almost replacement in kind if the lead flashing were to be kept. So I suggest that the applicant actually considers that possibility, because he's quite committed to keeping all the same materials, etc. So this would be a very good case to make for replacement in kind, which would not require HDC approval. And then we would be just concerned with the roof, which historically seems to be a better option to replace it for the cedar shingles than to keep what it's already there. Thank you.
Yes, in the daguerreotype picture, I didn't include it in the application because I just thought of it during the last presentation, is it does appear to be wood. I also have a sketch from Little Women, second edition. There's a sketch in the book of the house, amazingly. And it also appears to be wood shingle. I would imagine that was the material of choice in the both early and late 1800s when the book was written.
Well, I just also want to commend your care with the house. It's great.
Yeah, it certainly is. So if there are no further questions or comments, does someone want to make a motion?
I'll move we approve the application for 93 Monument Street.
He's asking for copper. Do we want to make that as part of the motion that it remain lead?
Sure. That amended to retain, if possible, the original lead flashing.
Great.
Replace the chimney in kind.
And
Right.
replacing the chimney in kind.
You're right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Tim,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Louis,
Aye.
Walter,
With a huge smile, aye.
and I'm an aye. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Okay, moving on to John Preston, 77 Walden Street, Main Street Historic District, to replace 2 windows.
Hi, good evening, members of the board. This is Marco Severino from Flow Design Architects, located in Salem, Massachusetts. I'm actually representing Eve and John, young couple that just obtained this lovely home. We're actually in front of the board because during the project, we were talking about renovating the kitchen, and there are 2 visible windows on the southeast of the home right here at the back. Kind of see in the picture. I would like Eve and Steve to say hi to the board and kind of tell them a little bit about the background here.
Hello, nice to meet you all. I'm Eve, and this is my husband, John Preston, and we are very much looking forward to moving onto Walden Street. We have good friends and family in Concord and are thrilled that we were able to purchase the home. We have a son who's turning 2 in a month and another one on the way. And so we're looking to make the kitchen a little bit more functional for our growing family.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Eve and John. So basically, guys, we're here in front of the board because there are actually 2 windows at the rear of the building, these 2 windows here that you could see. And since the conversation we have with Eve and Steve and John, we are hoping to infill one of the windows here. And then actually keep the same width and shorten that window in order to allow that counter space. And during the research of the project, Eve was able to kind of find older picture of the house, and you can kind of see that window actually didn't exist at that time. So we're hoping to kind of enclose that and shorten that window, to smaller window to kind of allow that counter space here in that corner. So that's basically why we're in front of the board. We're replacing it to keep the same aesthetics of the home. Most likely when people walk by won't really be able to tell those 2 windows there, but I'm here to respond any questions, concerns.
So you're saying that this, the window that's there in the historic photograph was not there, so that was added later.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what the smaller window, did that go to a pantry?
The window, the pre-existing window.
Yeah, this is you said this is a smaller window than these windows. The one that you want to
No,
show.
they're the same size window. This picture is from the 1870s, and basically it looks as though a second window was installed of the same height, closer to the street, where the kind of blank space is. And so we would like to restore it to the previous iteration, so that we no longer have that second window. And then we'd like to shorten the window that's further back by a couple of inches, so that it allows us to have a kind of counter and then the window above it instead of having a hole in the counter.
Yeah, but the window that you want to shorten is the same size as the window you want to remove, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions from the commission members?
Is the manufacturer of the windows submitted? I didn't notice it, but may have been. What's the window made of, and does it match the existing?
And what are you putting in?
Yeah, so basically we're putting an Anderson wood window. It's my understanding based on the conversation I had with the contractor. It's gonna match the same grid that currently exists. We're trying to match it as close as possible of the existing home.
And how much shorter will be the replacement window?
It's actually only about six inches. It's literally enough. I have a picture inside the kitchen. You can kind of see how this photo here, you can see how the window goes down. So they want to enlarge the kitchen. So this seal here kind of interrupt that to happen. So
Just as a technicality, don't we, after the fact, we could have them submit the manufacturer Anderson cut for that window, correct? Just so we
Correct.
can get it on record.
Right. We'll need the cut sheet. The current question with the current windows in the house, have they all been replaced? Or are they old windows?
We are not replacing any of the other windows that you can see from the street.
No, I mean the windows that are currently in the house. Is the window that you want to replace an original window to the house?
Oh, I don't know that.
I don't know.
Maybe if you can go back to that interior photograph of the kitchen, we could tell by looking at it.
That's why I was asking the question. It looked new to me.
They look new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Newer. Yeah.
Newer, yeah.
Yeah, Martha Hamilton completely did this house over, I think, in the late 80s, early 90s, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the drawings that we saw, they look like construction documents with modifications. Was that previous job some time ago?
The previous pages that we were looking at include.
Yeah, that Marcos was showing us, but
So basically the ones that we showing, these two windows are the only, we're removing a deck at the back. But that was not, we went through the, I don't remember what her name was.
Kim or Ann advised us that was not visible from the street.
Correct. So, but they emphasized to go in front of the board to discuss these two windows.
okay, so the work that was shown in those drawings, just to make sure I understand, is not visible from the street. It's on the back side of the house as a separate project.
Correct.
I think that sorry, this is a lovely house. It's an iconic house in Concord. I don't believe that what it's being proposed is a substantial change. So I don't think I would have any objections with it. I will encourage them to do it.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ed.
No, I just two thoughts. I agree certainly with the spirit of what Luis said. The idea of an oddball window, if you'll allow me to call it that, is I think completely consistent with the evolution of these buildings. And it makes that surface much less crowded. Two minor comments for consideration. One is you depicted in the drawing as having a shutter or a pair of shutters. In the photograph you showed, that window did not have a shutter. And maybe you think about actually not having your replacement smaller window, omitting the shutter. And then second, whether it would actually look better if it were 8 inches shorter than 6 inches. I think it's fine as proposed, but if it's an oddball window, don't try to hide the fact that it's an oddball window, I guess is what I'm saying. But a nice application, thank you.
That's why I asked if it were a pantry window, because Pantry
Yeah.
windows almost always smaller than other windows. And mainly for counter space, I think, in the pantry. Are there any public comments? One more time around the commission members. Anybody have a comment?
Well, I'll just say I've lived with well windows in the kitchen like that, and we shortened them all up, and it's quite a wonderful change. So.
Easier to clean too.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
Sorry, I have a quick administrative question.
We can't hear you, Ann.
Sorry, I have a quick administrative question. The drawings that were submitted show that don't quite match what you're showing us tonight. So I think they've evolved a bit. So if you could send along the revised drawings so that we have the accurate record and files here. And it would be great if you could also share the historic photo of the house, because that's really wonderful.
Sure. Yeah, it's from the Concord Library. So happy to share the digital copy.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yes, you're absolutely right. Those we had a conversation with Eve and John, and they needed to fit that fridge. So we decided to, instead of replacing it, to enclose it. And then that matches, we found a picture, and then it ended up being very close to what it used to be, which was a great thing.
We'll send
And
that.
then you also want the specs on the window.
Yep.
Yes.
Spec on the one. Yep.
Specs in the window. Okay, do I have a motion? This is straightforward. It shouldn't take anybody
Well,
too long.
I move that we approve 70, forget the right address, 77 Walden Street as submitted, with the understanding that they will follow up with a historic photograph as
I have a
presented,
second.
window cut of the proposed window, and be sure to submit the correct final drawings that haven't been adjusted.
Great, thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, let's do some voting here. Tim,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Louis,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Great, so you have your windows.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Have a great
Thank you so
night.
much. Have a great night.
Good. Now our final hearing is for the First Parish Wright Tavern, 2 Lexington Road in the Main Street Historic District to install a sign. Tom, I see you're here. You're muted. There you go.
Now you are. Hi, Dennis. How are you? Hi, everybody. Good to see you all again. First of all, I'm gonna say one thing. We have not built or put the sign on the building yet. So we're waiting your approval before we'll actually build it, unlike the last time I was here when I had to ask for your forgiveness from that. But anyway, I'm just going to go through a little bit of a story, and if we have a few minutes, I'd like to talk to you about kind of what we have coming up with you all in the next few months, because we're going to be coming back with some some important things. And so, but let me start with a sharing of my screen. As you all know, we are working on the Wright Tavern. We're working to try to really, as we said, create it into a gathering place, a place for people to really come in and understand a lot of work we want to be doing about the history of Concord, the history of founding the country, and all that. We have been actually working with the tourist department, and we're working, if you all remember this, when we did a site visit, I took you all in this door, which is on the very back of the building. And there was no signage, there's no indication to anybody, but that's actually where we ultimately want to create the main entrance. And primarily the reason we want to do that is that it leads people, there's 2 things. It leads people into the building. It's a place where we want them to start, which is the what we call the Wright Tavern room, which talks about the history of the Wright Tavern. And it also it focuses the building more towards Concord Center than First Parish. So at some point, when I'll talk about this a little bit later, but we want to create, if you will, an entrance here that will promote the Wright Tavern to the community, as opposed to having people go around to the other side. But until we get there, we're starting to, and we don't know how far we're going to be able to get there before April of next year. So what we would like to be able to do is in that area, is to put a sign. I was talking to a member of our community the other day, and they were saying they thought that door went to the basement. And I said, no, it really is. There's a staircase there, and it takes you right into where we want to be. So it kind of reinforced the point that we would like to ultimately create a sign. So the idea is, as you recall, I had found this sign in an attic in the building, and that's what we used to put on the front. We would like to replicate that exact sign, but smaller, because the area is a lot smaller. So it'd be a wood, it would be gold, it would be exactly as what you're seeing here. But instead of being 8 feet long, it'll be 5 feet long. Instead of being 8 inches wide, it'll be 6 inches wide, and basically look the same. And the place it would go is right next to this door, so that when I meet people, when I give tours of the building, I have people meet here, and then we let them in and walk up the stairs, and we go in. If somebody is handicapped or disabled in some way or can't make the flight of stairs, we go around to the First Parish entrance, because that is a handicapped accessible door. So our request is, I think, really quite simple, is to let us build this sign and place it right here on the building. About that simple. So I'll leave it for questions for you all, and see what I can address, any kind of questions or concerns you might have.
Not that I want to add more signage, but aren't you, if this is going to be the main entrance, you don't want to put something like entrance there at some place? Not that I'm encouraging more signage, but.
Yeah, good question. Well, because of the sign bylaws, we can only really have 2 signs. I did talk to Paul Creedon about this, and he said that the sign that's on the front that says, this is where Provincial Congress was, and where the Minutemen met, and the card, story of the bloody finger kind of thing. That's an informational sign. It's not a sign of entrance. And so we wanted to create at least some semblance of an entrance here, but keep it simple, kind of in scale to what the area is. But I'm going to be coming back to you in the next several months, because we have got a major grant from the national parks for $521,000 to redo the exterior, fix the exterior,
Great.
repaint it, work the windows, do the plumbing, do a fire suppression system, and a bunch of other things. So we're quite excited by we've gotten in total over $1 million worth of funding, but current balance and stuff we haven't worked on as projects is around almost $800,000. So as I said, we're going to be coming back to you over the next several months, and obviously into next year. So we're trying to do something really simple right now, just to show that this is an entrance, until which time we really start to really have a good idea, and we're working on that right now, about what that design would look like for that as an entrance. So just trying to do something simple and just kind of within scale of the space.
Where there's a sign on the front that's a historic sign that you found inside.
Right.
And you're saying those are the only 2 signs that'll be there?
There's the sign that you all approved last year, which says the Right Tavern, that's hanging up there. There's the historic sign, which is near the First Parish door. And then this would be the second. So that really the 2 signs would be the Right Tavern sign, big one up front, and this sign, according to Paul Creedon's definition of what a sign is. Said the historic marker is not considered a sign under the bylaws, because it doesn't provide it and direct people as an entrance. It just is an informational thing. It says so this would be almost like a entrance sign, but we could put an entrance, but I want to keep it simple, and that would be a 3rd sign or some other, if we said it, unless we stuck it in the ground or something like that. I just think it'd be kind of simple.
Well, you could. I mean, I'm not pushing this point, but could do a replica of the sign in front, make it a little wider.
Yeah.
And then underneath, put in smaller lettering entrance in
Entrance.
gold underneath it.
Yeah, we
So
can
that
do.
it would be all incorporated into one sign, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
I don't know if the sign that's proposed is the sign that was there, I wouldn't change it. It seems to me replicating an object is preferable. I think it looks.
Well, it would be replicating the sign that's on the front. That was I don't know if we don't know the date of that, do we, Tom? That sign. Maybe from photographs you figured that out.
The one that's here. This is the one that's there.
Right, yeah.
My sense is it's probably in the 1920s. It didn't go back that much farther. I have some signs that say Wright Tavern that go back into about 1850. But somehow this probably just because they were probably wood and they probably rotted. And so my sense is that when they were redoing the building and around the turn of the century, 1900, 1910, like that, and it was an inn and restaurant during that time, operating inn and restaurant, that the operators and owners at the time built this sign, because that one I have seen in some earlier photographs, but there were cars, well, Model Ts, but still it's that kind of that sort of sign. So it's not, it goes back a while back, maybe 50, probably 80, 100 years, but it's not.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Hey, Tom, this is Tim. How do you get to that? I can't remember. How do you get to the brick terrace that's right by the door? Is that right off the sidewalk?
Yeah. There is let's see that. Yeah, there is a opening in the in that granite and metal pipes that run along the sidewalk. There's an opening right there and a little walkway that takes you to this door and takes you down to the door that leads down into the basement. And then there's this
that's why the only thing I was wondering was if the sign's between those two doors, is that going to be confusing as to which door is the door?
I don't think so, because it's going to be here, right next to this door. The other door is this is not it. I don't have a picture of it. If I could, the picture, the other door is quite a ways, it's over in the corner and it's down a few steps.
And what is the
door shouldn't be confusing.
These are little detail questions, but what is the gray? Is that access doors to the right there on that photo?
That's into storage that's underneath. That's underneath a staircase that goes up.
Yeah, so I guess what I would say is I don't think you want the sign to protrude over that thing.
Right.
Be somewhere smaller than the tan panel of concrete or block or whatever. I don't know what that dimension is, but it seems like you've shrunk the main sign down a bit, but it still seems pretty large.
Yeah.
And if it's not creeping over the little doors where you got the cursor on, then it would sit more subtly and comfortably, whatever that dimension is.
That little space right here where it is. I see what you're saying. I think that's a good idea. My plan is that if I do get y'all's approval, is to work with Richard Fortier. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's an amazing craftsman, and I talked to him, and he's willing to build us the sign, I won't go beyond the size that I mentioned. We may do smaller to the point, as you said, what's a tasteful display, but also you want people who are on the sidewalk to be able to see the sign and be able to read it. So it has to be large enough to be read from the sidewalk, but small enough, I think your point, to not confuse people in terms of where the entrance is.
But Tom, I don't think your location of sign number 2 is to scale, right? I don't think it's going to.
No, it's exactly. And
how much distance is there between the door and the storage door? It's more than 8 inches.
It's about, it's about the door, between those two black things, the door on the left and the shed thing. It's about 6 to 8 feet, about 8 feet, something like that. I,
Your drawing isn't to scale at all, so that your
that
sign
out
will be
scale.
way,
Yeah.
way closer to that door. It won't be confusing at all.
that's true. Yeah.
Great. Other thoughts?
Yeah, I
It's what, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mo.
So my initial impression of it was that the sign was rather large. As a stray thought, you have the same signage potentially in this spot and on the other base of the building just around the corner. If I were walking up to this, that might confuse me even more about where I'd be going. It doesn't, having those two signs detracts from the ability of this sign next to the door to differentiate that this is, or to establish that this is the place where you would be going in. That's sort of my first thoughts 1 and 1A. I don't know what the sign ordinance would allow, but have you considered painting on the block there, which is not especially historic after it's been painted, and just paint the Right Tavern on the block next to that door instead of putting on yet another sign? And my first reaction to all this was that it could be a freestanding, posted into the ground instead of one more thing attached to the building, that it would be potentially cleaner. You could have a sign in the picture that we're seeing here, a foot closer to the viewer here, oriented sideways, but even with an arrow, God forbid, pointing, to that door. So I don't know. It seems to me to be a bit of overkill to have two signs on that building that are the same size and frankly both pretty large.
Well, I think just to be clear, one thing I was hoping, my intent is to have this, because this side is so much smaller than the front. I could pull up a picture of the front, but the signage on the front is kind of in the middle of a big wall space.
Yeah, I remember it quite well.
Okay, good. So this was trying to be more subtle. Interesting idea about we could do that.
Or frankly, hang another sign in that space just below that clobbered line there. And then the other question I have while I have the floor is, you're talking about having exterior upgrades or restorations being done. Are you looking at this sign as being a temporary sign, or is this something that you're thinking of keeping in that location for perpetuity?
I'm hoping it'll be, and once again, it depends a lot on what the new entrance looks like. My hoping is that we can reuse it and we could use it in the new entrance. And it sort of depends on what the new entrance looks like in terms of size and scale.
So reuse it in terms of conserving the effort of having created it.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Any other thoughts, comments? Do we have any public comments? Don't see any. Do we have a motion?
Well, it's getting late, so I think I better make a motion. I move that we approve the sign on 2 Lexington. Well, let me think about it. I think we're drifting towards suggesting to Tom to shrink the size of the sign.
Right.
And
can I interrupt just for a second?
Yeah.
What is the timeline involved in all this? Is there a constraint?
Once I get your approval, I'll ask Richard when he can do it. My sense is it'll be a month or so, next month or 6 weeks. I don't know how long it could take him a week. I don't really know how long. I didn't ask him.
Look, I'm a little bit at sea about it all at this point, and I'm just asking if having a continuance to be able to see some alternative approaches is going to be crippling to the project or not.
Yeah, It's being used now by the tour guides from Beth Williams's. When they do a tours, they enter in that door. It should be nice to have a sign as soon as we can until the tourist season completely dries up, which will be probably late October, early November. So the sooner the better, but once again, I'm trying to be sensitive to your all's wishes.
Tim, are we back to you again?
Well, I think Tom, if you can stand it, it's a 3-week continuance. If you could look at a smaller sign and any other options that you might want to consider, given what you've heard. But I think the main direction was not to have just a slightly baby version of the front sign, but have something a little more distinct, which is the simplest way, I suppose, just to make it smaller.
Okay.
Maybe with a measured drawing of the of that surface in the sign.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah. And somehow if you could portray it accurately, how it sits on that wall in some fashion.
Yeah. The
The photograph of somebody taping up a piece of paper or something like that.
Exactly. And take a photograph. Yeah, we can do that. No problem.
That's my as motion of continuance with those various comments.
And my apology.
Okay, so that I gather that's a motion. Anybody
Want
want
to
to
rephrase that? Or?
I'll second.
Let me see. I'm just thinking back on whether that works as a motion. Yes, you qualified
I'd be
it.
happy to redo it if you like.
No, that's fine. It'll do. I think they caught it. So let's do some voting. Louis.
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
And Tim.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Great. Thank you very much.
Can I,
Tom, we'll see you.
Can I ask just about one quick question? Just to get a sense of the group, but if not, it's not appropriate, we can do it another time or in smaller groups. It's about the new entrance. I just need to kind of make, as we're working on the design, I need to sort of say, I don't want to bring something to you that's not something that you all would consider. So that's my question to you. Just I have a quick question, but if it's not appropriate, then it's that we can wait. That can wait till next meeting as well.
Well, we're moving into other business, and we have had a vote on this. So I'll put you at the top. We have some minutes to look at, but I'll put you at the top of the other business. So go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So when we were talking about the new entrance, the concerns that you all had was the Department of Interior standards and all of that, and also the concerns that we wanted the door that goes down to the basement not to be covered up, but to continue to be exposed. So it may shrink the size down. So there was what do we need to do to make it smaller? And then, but there was also a number of individuals who were interested in not having what I describe as a independent freestanding unit that people would walk in. And because we want to make it fully accessible, there would be a staircase and a people lift The people lift would be very similar to the ones in the townhouse. If you've been in there. So it's that kind of concept. And an entry and a little foyer where people can be greeted and sell tickets or whatever. But then there would be people walk up and then they walk up kind of a catwalk across. And so what would be attached to the building would be, sort of a whatever structure, hallway kind of thing. And that keeps it independent and it minimizes the effect that it has in terms of on the building. In looking at some of the drawings, what's concerned me was a structure like that would have to be a 2-story high structure and pretty large in order to be able to accommodate a staircase, a people lift, and a foyer. And what I'm worried about is presenting something that's like a monster structure in 3 or 4 feet from the building, and what that would look like in terms of having a visual problem of looking at it. versus having something that would be a smaller scale and more like it was attached to the building. So I think I was wanting to come back to you all when we actually have worked through the designs. We're doing that right now with some design build people, with two options. And I wanted to see, do you want to see those two options? One that's independent and what it would look like, and then another one that would still be attached, but it would allow us to have the people lift and the things like that. Is that okay? Or do you want to, I'm just, I've not really done this before, so I'm trying to learn what's the best way to approach you with those ideas, because this is a really important decision, I think, for the community, and so I really want to make sure we do it thoughtfully, and rigorously. So, if there's any guidance you can give me as we work with designers to tell them, don't go there, don't worry about that, or yes, look at this, explore this, any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, Ann can correct me on this, but when you come before us, you really ought to have a proposal. We don't design or make those decisions.
Exactly.
So we want to know what you want to do. But you can come back to us in this informal way again and show us what you're proposing, and we can give you our thoughts on that. But I think when you come to make the formal proposal, you have to have something in mind.
Good. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we will have the blueprints and all the designs and the materials and all that stuff.
So you're free to come back on the schedule and other business where it's an informal discussion.
Okay, perfect. That's what I needed to know. I just was like, how do I work this so that it involves you and we don't waste a lot of time, your time or our time with designers and stuff. This costs money, so kind of make sure it works.
Dennis, just to be clear for Tom, if we do it as other business, which is informal, non-binding comments, we still need to see something.
Oh yeah,
right.
We're not just to show whatever he wants to show us.
We're not just talking, but you can present it in rough sketch form, smooth sketch form. It's kind of up to you to convey the ideas without, as you said, overly investing in a huge amount of design time to try to. Because you're only faced with the most difficult design problem in Concord, Tom. That's all. That's all.
Hey, why not?
Conceptual work.
It's a very, and I'll just.
You're right.
You had a lot of different opinions last time from us. None of us concurred because it is a very difficult little problem.
Yes.
As you know. Yeah, I don't have to tell you, but we're going to be faced with the same. Probably multiple opinions because it's a tricky, odd little tricky thing in a highly prominent spot. So,
and I want to. We need to do it expeditiously, but I don't want to take our time. It doesn't. Part of the reason of doing the decision tonight was so that maybe we can fix it up a little bit, and we don't. Therefore, not rushed to do anything. It'll be appropriate for April 19th of next year. So. Without having to build a new entrance, but I want to take our time, I guess, and do it thoughtfully.
I think that it is important for Tom to keep in perspective that what happened before, and what happened before was that we had a structure attached to the house which detracted from the original legitimacy of the house as such, because it added a new element and made it feel that it was a part of an old element. And that's the reason that all the regulations from the Secretary of the Interior came about. And that's the reason that there were very serious considerations to having a separate structure. And I think that still applies. So I would be surprised if this commission were to consider or encourage a design that involves extending the Wright Tower, and I believe that the successful design, which as Tim just said, is extremely difficult, will be something that maintains its total independence, not only physically, but also chronologically with the Wright Tavern. In other words, you see it and you know that that was installed in 2025 and not in 1745. And I think that those are things very important to keep in mind because that's where designers and architects may go a little bit astray and find a solution that is architecturally sound, but historically not sufficient.
Right. That
Thank you very much.
describes a conundrum.
It's a conundrum. I'm glad we don't have to solve it.
Well, wait a minute. I thought that you were in charge of that.
No. We only comment and approve. Great. Thank you very much. Great. Okay, on to other business. We have minutes. And our secretary isn't with us tonight, and that's usually the person that reads these over and gives us any comments. But I'd like to vote on these. So the minutes from March 27th, 2024. Does anybody have comments on those minutes?
I have one correction, which is that the comment about gas pump sign on Lowell Road was attributed to me, was actually Luis who had said that. A minor point, but
okay. So Luis said that, not you.
Yes.
Okay, we can make that change. Any other changes, thoughts on the minutes? So does someone want to move?
I'll move we accept it with that amendment.
With the amendment. Second?
Second.
So you have to get, I guess we don't have all in favor. Bill?
Aye.
On this one. Walter?
I don't want to derail this conversation, but it's still a Mullins form consideration, which is we have 5 members here and voting on minutes that not everyone attended. It's just it's the ongoing concern that I have.
Well, it's a legitimate one. Voting on minutes when you weren't there. Yeah, it's a challenge.
So we don't have, present Shartner, Whitney, Shumway, Clay, and Better Spatia. And we have Luis is here, I'm here. So we're missing 2. There were only 5 people who were present at that meeting, and 2 of them are not here. So
well, my feeling is that we can vote on them.
Well, but keep something in mind, which is that I do a Mullins form for every meeting I miss after I see the video. So although I was not present for the 2/21/24 meeting, I can vote.
Well, you were there for 27/24.
No, associate members absent. Myself, Catherine Mast. No, that doesn't make any sense. Because Catherine Mast is not an associate member.
But I'm fine with her. I'm just pointing it out.
No, I think that the minutes from 2/21/24 needs to be corrected to represent that Catherine Mast is a full member.
We're talking 2/21. I thought we were talking 3/27.
No, we're talking about 2/21/24 because I went through the other one and I found another thing, but I didn't want to go through the one the other one.
But it's exactly the same concern and the same situation for both of these, just different names, but the numbers are the same.
Yeah, I think that the 2/21 is not approval. That's my impression because it has a big mistake putting a associate member Melinda Shumway and associate member Catherine Mast, which are not associate members; they are full members.
And they were full members at the time. This is in this whole changeover.
Yeah, 2/21/24. You see, it's
So I'm trying to discuss one at a time. In March, I get what Walter is saying. Do we still want to move ahead on voting on those as they stand, or do you want to go back and get it corrected?
Well, can I say, since I'm the instigator for a lot of this, when were Mullins forms filled out properly, if all the i's were dotted and the t's were crossed, there'd be no concern whatsoever with voting for the minutes, right? The concern is that we don't have a 5 members. There are only 5 of us tonight. There were only 5 there. They don't match, and among the 5 who would be voting, we don't have Mullins forms for them. So I
Well,
would-
but you know, if I may point to a fact which is for the 2 years I was chair, the way that I interpreted the approval of the minutes was that that was an administrative move. It was not a decision on an application. Therefore, I invited all members, both full members and associate members, to vote because it was an approval by the members of the commission, and I couldn't find anything in the rules and regulations or in the enabling legislation that contradicted that.
I'm always willing to defer to your wisdom, sir.
No, I'm just giving this as a matter of precedent. So, you know, it may be something that we may have to take, and we may have to analyze the rules and regulations again and confirm that my interpretation is correct. Because where we limited the voting to the full members or the appointed full members was when we were making a decision on an application, when there was an application involved, but when there were administrative matters that dealt with the commission as a whole, then we asked all members of the commission to vote. And that's what we did when we amended the rules and regulations in 2022, and when we did again in 2023 at some point.
I understand what you're saying, but still, that's though a different case than the minutes. In my
Well, no, the minutes is an administrative procedure. You see, it's not a decision on an application.
Yeah, I understand that.
So you wanted some clarification around that, but what are we going to do about the minutes now? Do we want to hold off on those, or do we want to finish a vote on the minutes of March 27th at this point?
I am willing to personally defer to precedent established over the course of the last couple of years and say we can go ahead and vote on the minutes with the still mild concern that we should address exactly how it should be done. And my concern, frankly, on it is not just that there are people, any one of us could be voting on approving something without having had any personal experience of it. Hopefully everyone has read the minutes that they're going to vote on this evening. But in the minutes should be an accurate record of what actually happened. One should be able to go read the minutes of a meeting and understand what transpired at that meeting. And if it's being voted on and approved by members who were not part of that process, it makes it a little more loosey-goosey. And frankly, the Mullins form adherence is designed, I think, to make sure that that doesn't come into question. So,
well, I think we need to look into it further, and I'll talk with Ann about it. But for now, we're going with Luis's interpretation. So
I move that we approve the minutes.
Okay. And do I have a second?
No, I move that we approve the minutes of 327, but not the one from 221.
Okay. Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Let's not mix them up. Let's just do 327. Okay. 327. There's a motion and a second for that? I heard a motion, but not a second.
I'll second.
Since everybody's voting on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, now to February 21st. Luis, you had a problem with these.
Yes, the problem is that Melinda Shumway is not an associate member. And Catherine Mass, although appears here as an associate member that it's absent, is not an associate member. So the name of Melinda Shumway, which appears as an associate member present, should be switched to commission members present, in addition to Dennis Fiore, Kate, and Timothy Whitney. And the name of the associate members absent the name should be removed. The name of Catherine Mass should be removed and be included in a line that says commission members absent.
Okay, so do we want to vote on those with those amendments? You're thinking, Luis, we shouldn't vote on them, but can't we vote on them?
I think that a minute it's not that crucial. So I think that they should be fixed, and then we should vote for it.
Okay, so you don't want to vote now on them?
No, I don't think we should vote. I don't think we should.
Okay.
Vote.
Okay. Great. We'll go back to the drawing boards and come back again and get those fixed. Terrific. I had two other things I wanted to mention before we sign off, and and sign is my first one. Bill, Ann, and I met today to talk about revisions to the section of our guidelines that deal with signs. There are a number of problems and improvements that we discussed, and I thank Bill for working on that. So we hope this is the first of a series of updates of the guidelines. I remember when I first came on the commission, God, it must have been 14 years ago now. They had been working on the revising the guidelines for almost 2 years. And by the end of the process, no one remembered where they began on this whole thing. It just took way too long. And, within weeks, they were not adequate. So we're going to come up with a system. And I think Bill's going to start us off with signs where we can take sections at a time, update them, and continually do this on some kind of basis, maybe on a quarterly basis, bring it to the commission members to review so that they stay fresh and they meet current needs. And we make changes to them that make a great deal of sense. So I thank Bill again for that. The other item, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but there's interest in once again expanding the historic district that is on site. As far as the library.
Hey, Dennis?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. We lost you for 10 seconds there. Can you repeat that?
A crucial 10 seconds.
Yeah, it says my internet connection is unstable. What did you lose me?
Something on Sudbury blank.
Oh, on Sudbury Road, the historic district does not stretch to cover some really historic structures that are on that street. It ends at the library. And the Wheeler House, for instance, is one of the oldest houses in Concord, is not in the historic district. So there's the woman who owns the Wheeler House, who bought it, is very interested in having her house in the district. Matter of fact, the house has covenants on it for the interior and the exterior that are held by Historic New England. Across the street is another early house. So the feeling is that there's a need to extend that district. So we'll be working on that, aiming towards the town meeting of next year. So I'll keep you posted on that and may get some of you involved in that. The first piece will be for me to and maybe one or two of you to meet with residents in the area to find out. Luis knows we've been through this process before on Judy Dugan Road and moved it along until it hit a roadblock, and that is someone who didn't want to be in a district. So we want to see what the neighborhood has to say about this. Joanne Gibson, some of you know Joanne. This is a pet project of hers, and so she's willing to help us with this and keep it moving. And she's a friend of the lady in the Wheeler House. So, any questions about any of that?
There's also an empty lot on that street too, which is important.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And there was a wonderful house torn down that was there, which was very unfortunate. So we may not go as far as including the Dunkin' Donuts and the filling station, but anyway, we should they're historic, right? So we should move it along. Anyway, other questions or answers or business, or anybody want to say anything before I ask us to sign off?
I, not for discussion tonight, but we've had now 2 meetings in the last 3 where there have been applicants who have done fairly substantial work without approval and maybe not actively misrepresented it, but certainly didn't make it clear that this was after the fact approval. And I just wonder, I'd like to learn more about our enforcement alternatives at some point, not urgent at all, but.
Well, by
It's a problem, and there've been some. I can think of one person on Lowell Road who never came to us, and they shouldn't have done, and then they come in for approval, and we ended up approving it because we don't want them to take it down or whatever. So you know, we can not approve it, and they'd have, frankly, if it isn't approved, they have to take their fence down or take down their porch or whatever.
well, that also involves misdemeanors and fines.
Yeah, I just like maybe to have town council or whoever it is give us an outline of what our enforcement opportunities are.
I looked into this in the past 2 years, and the answer is no. There's nothing that we can do as a commission. The only thing that can be done, which is open to all kinds of worms from the legal standpoint, is for the select board directly to deny a building permit or an occupancy permit or something of that sort. And when I reached that with the select board, they didn't want to even know about it. They were already having too many problems, and they were not going to become the enforcers. So that is a major weakness of this commission, and has been for the past 11 years.
It is a major weakness. I agree. So, Bill, thank you. We'll look into that further.
Maybe the answer is clear. That's okay.
No. I think that we should be militant about it, and we should lobby about it, and we should present to the select board an alternative that is fiscally sound and that encourages people to obtain the proper permits, because otherwise you see, there are a number of precedents that are kind of troublesome, and I wasn't going to get into this at all, but and I don't think that we should get into this, but there's rumors going around that the select board is going to cut a sweetheart deal with 615 Lowell Road. And my first reaction upon learning that was, well, if that happens, I will ask all commissioners of the Historic District Commission to resign in block. No, but of course, you know, that's the type of thing that you know, it's possible and it may happen. So the problem is that we as a commission, and that's something that we also worked in the past 2 years, have to streamline our procedures, and that's what we did actually. So our credibility is much stronger now. At some point, and Dennis maybe witness to this even before I started. The commission was saying that's somebody with whims, and you know, I really don't like the color. I think they should have a lighter shade of gray. You know? And now we're following rules and we're following principles, and you know, and I think that we are much more recognized as a group of serious people.
I think the attitude of the I sit down on these chairs meetings, which I know Luis you into, and some of you may have chaired committees. They're very informative meetings, and one was just this morning. And when you get to historic districts, you just get this feeling that the select board could care less about us. I raised the question about Lowell Road, the property on 615 Lowell Road, and said, you know, the commission would really like to know what's going on there since we were part of that process, and I got shut down immediately. I will say that they've just mishandled this. In the old days, and we've had a number of lawsuits, when you say there's no enforcement, when it's not really enforcement, but we had a lawsuit where someone wanted to put an outbuilding on their property, and we were against it. We thought it would interfere, so we were sued. And the way it was managed was totally different, and that is that 3 members of our commission met with our lawyer and their lawyer and came up with a solution. but it came back to the full commission to vote on and to amend if they wanted to, and that in 2 episodes resolved the problem. We were able to come to a compromise. The select board did not want to do that this time, which is why we're been cut out of the process.
Well,
So-
and we actually, we refused to participate in exactly that process, because one of the things that the applicant from 615 Lower Road asked was to create a commission in which one of the members of the HCC would participate. And I went to the point of selecting one member who agreed. And then the whole commission voted all in the negative, that like the decision had been made following the guidelines and it had been voted X number of times and so forth. So that precedent that was said before, it's unlikely to work this time again. So
Yeah,
it's
they
a
wanted
problem.
the way they wanted to handle it, if you remember, is they wanted one representative, and they were suggesting it be one of our members who was a real estate agent. They wanted that select that one member, and whatever was decided, that one member got to vote on. It would not come back to us. They wanted
Exactly.
that person to decide for all of us what is correct,
Exactly.
and that's what we turned down.
Exactly.
That's anyway, that's probably more than you want to know, but that's how we ended up in this particular situation. And we're cut out of the deal as far as I can see. So
Well, hopefully we won't have to resign in block.
hopefully not, but anyway.
Anyway.
And I think I told you that Cameron McKinnott, who's our liaison, I spent a great deal of time going over our point of view for 615 Lowell Road and why it's where it is at the present time. So hopefully he takes that message back to the select board. Anyway, we're going on too long. Do I have a motion? Oops, Tim?
Hey, Dennis, I just want, Anne had her hand up. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ann, I didn't see you. Ann, are you still there? We lost her.
There she is.
There she is.
I was just going to remind you that you're not supposed to be talking about cases that are under litigation. But you all know that.
That we're not supposed to talk about them?
About, right, cases that are currently under litigation. It just puts the town at risk and you all at risk. So it's just to keep everybody out of trouble. That's what I'm here for, right?
Thank you.
Guilty as
Thank you very much
charged.
for keeping us out of trouble.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah. After the horse is out of the barn. Thank you, Ann, for keeping us honest.
I move we adjourn.
Sounds good. Second?
5 minutes ago.
Okay.
Aye. Thank you
All
very
in
much.
favor?
Aye.
Good.
Good to see,
Thank you.
aye, good to see you all.
Good night.
Thank you.